Welcome, race fans, to Monday Night Mania. Monday Night Mania proudly brought to you by Gary Whitmer of GW Graphics, taking care of our videography needs. Out here turning laps with us tonight in the number 5 pad. Going to be keeping a very close eye on Gary Whitmer, our sponsor for Monday Night Mania. All right, folks. It is the start of a new week here with KMA Racing. On to a different track, on to a different race. Tonight, we are running out at Charlotte on this 1.45 more, let's call it 1.5 mile track. Very nice weather out here, very nice track temperature, sitting right at about 65 degrees. Now, we are going to be running Charlotte all week tonight. We are running Charlotte in the Xfinity class. Tomorrow night, running Charlotte out in the Chevy Silverados and the Toyota Tundras. And on Friday, we're going to be running the big boy toys out there on Charlotte for a good run on Friday night. Tuesday's race brought to you by Pro Automotive. Friday's race brought to you by Pie 5 Pizza. And on Saturday night, we've got an extremely special event going on, 125 laps at Michigan for Ivan Garcia. And that will be the Ivan Garcia Happy Birthday Michigan 125. Want to give a big shout out to our fans out there. A couple of fans out there to mention. We've got Mom Whitmer out there rooting on Gary Whitmer Jr., our sponsor for Monday night. We've got Karen Staples rooting on her best man, the number 64 of Lee Staples. We've got our usual array of drivers. We've got Lee, we've got Gary, we've got James Brown, Garrett Potts, Donald Stewart, Edward Bray, and of course we have Ivan Garcia running out here tonight. Mark Jackson out here representing Over the Top Paints and Designs. And a man we haven't seen for quite a while coming in, going to probably teach us all how to drive this 1.5 mile speedway, and that is David Washington. We haven't seen David Washington for quite some time, but I tell you what, the last time we saw David, he was tearing up just about any track that we put down. Travis Browder joining us tonight, Lee Ryerson Jr., Donald Stewart. Going to be some great racing out here tonight at this Charlotte track. Drivers are finishing up their qualifying times, and we're going to take a look at those qualifying times and see how these drivers did tonight. Qualifying very important out here at Charlotte. Taking a look at that qualifying order, we've got Mark Jackson taking that front line representing Over the Top Paints and Designs. Side by side with Edward Bray. Mark pulling in a 26.913. Edward Bray pulling in a 26.915. Extremely close times. Sitting off in third position, we have Donald Stewart. David Washington sitting in fourth place. Devin Armstrong, fifth position. Sixth position belonging to Jake Ritchie. Seventh position belonging to Taylor Potts. Garrett Potts. I wonder if them two fellas are related, sitting back in eighth position. In ninth position, we have got Lee Staples. And in 10th, our good friend Richard Brose. Sitting in 11th position, we've got Travis Browder. 12th position belonging to Pat Rouchad, not in field though. 13th position belonging to Gary Whitmer Jr. 14th is Ivan Garcia. Big happy birthday to Ivan Garcia coming up on Saturday. 15th position is me, but I'm in the booth. 16th position is James Brown. Big shout out there to Cora and the guys from James Brown. 17th position belonging to John Henderson. Kevin Scott Nelson, always a familiar face out there, position 18. Position 19, we have got Lee Ryerson Jr. Robert Chipman sitting in position 20th. 21st, we have got Anthony Poston, not infield. 22nd position, we have got Joel Guy. And near the rear of the field, we have got Danny Rudy. Big shout out there to Dan's Top Notch Heating and Cooling. All right, ladies and gentlemen, getting ready to kick off. A whole lot of racing out here tonight on this 1.5-mile speedway. 125 laps. Boys will be getting her done tonight. Boys will be just fine. Rough night last night in our monthly race for pad race, but I have a lot of confidence that tonight it's going to be a completely new ball game. Want to give a big shout out there to Over the Top Paints and Designs. Mark Jackson representing Over the Top Paints and Designs. Big shout out there to Lloyd, the Iceman, out there on the KM8 TV chat. Not able to make it to tonight's race. Hope to see Lloyd tomorrow night. And away goes Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson with a huge jump out on that front line, getting ready to get her done early on. Side-by-side action with Edward Bray and Donald Stewart. David Washington tight in tow early on. Charlotte, a pretty favored track with a lot of the drivers out here within the iRacing community. Number 33, Devin Armstrong, sitting back in 5th position. It's a lot of fun to drive out here. Very distinct lanes to use. Beautiful night out here at Charlotte. As David Washington, I told you, I think that David Washington is the man to beat. But Edward Bray rocking that left side of David Washington, trying to get his momentum coming back. Edward Bray falling to 4th position. Devin Armstrong sitting in 5th, and Garrett Potts sitting in 6th position with his hands full with Jake Ritchie. Taylor Potts sitting in 8th position. Whoa, Edward Bray into the ball. We've got our first caution of the night. Going to check out and see exactly what happened here. It was in the vicinity of Edward Bray. Whoa, there it is right there. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunate break there for, I do believe that would have been David Washington in the white 98. Let's take a look at it. Whoa! David Washington getting loose, driving Edward Bray up into that wall. No fault of Edward Bray whatsoever. Edward Bray pretty much minding his business there. David Washington rocking that apron, and up, whoops, goody-madoo. There goes Edward Bray into the wall, but the damage really coming out in front with David Washington, the number 17, 125 into the 64, 125, evidently no place to go. We're going to back that up and take a look at that on our blimp. Wow. That is the big one coming out early on lap 3 of 125. Can you believe it? The worst part about it is Edward Bray survived it all, but wow, that was a tough break right there. Edward Bray surviving it, minding his own business up there, and driver hits the apron, and that's all she wrote, folks. Mark Jackson out there on that front line. First caution of the night. Wow, if that didn't wake him up, I don't know what will, folks. Now the question for our race leaders is to pit or not to pit. Mark Jackson out on that front line. Pretty much, I believe everybody's going to do what Mark Jackson does underneath our first caution of the night. If I was Mark Jackson, I'd be hanging on to that lead right now for another 121 laps out here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Does not take much to rock these cars once they hit down on that apron. We will score the apron 1, the driver 0, Mark Jackson. Looking like Mark Jackson's going to stay out of pit row. Good enough. Gives us a chance to talk to my good friend, Mark Jackson. Always a pleasure and a joy to talk to. How about it, Mark Jackson?
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Well, I'm having some issues with my pit crew calling out my pit signs right now. So we decided to stay out there, and hopefully we might get another caution. We might have a chance to get this stuff fixed.
All right, well, I tell you what, we had a really good view of what brought that caution out. We did see one driver, the number 98, get down onto that white line, come up across track, pop into another driver, which that driver survived, and then the traffic behind them, well, they just didn't seem to have any brakes. What's the atmosphere out there on the track?
Well, you know, this is a very fast racetrack. And when somebody makes a mistake, it's real easy to get caught up into it, and it's hard to get slowed down. So mistakes happen. It's Charlotte. She's fast, but she can be really dangerous to reach out and bite you. That apron down there is not your friend.
Well, I tell you what, Mark, as you know, we're running these Xfinities out here tonight. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to be sitting off there running out in the trucks, and then Friday out there in the Cup cars. How do you think the racing's going to be different night to night?
Well, I think the trucks have a little bit more stability to them, and then the Cup cars, that's a whole nother beast. I think the Cup car might have to worry about that right rear corner a little bit more as far as getting that tire hot. But it's a fast racetrack, that's for dang sure.
All righty, and you're looking sharp out of here. We had some difficulty with our paint program last night, but we got you loud and proud in that Budweiser America over-the-top paints and designs number 3.
Yep, it's over-the-top Chevy. Got to thank John Hedrick, over-the-top paints and designs, once again for sponsoring me this season and into next year, man. We're signed up for another full season of racing with him, and just really proud to do that and be a part of KMA.
All right, good to go. Good luck to you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Mark Jackson looking very good out there in the number 3 Budweiser America. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing. Underneath our first caution of the night, a surpriser coming out when the apron evidently just jumped up and bit a driver, bit him on the ankle, causing our first caution of the night, and away we go. Now, interestingly enough, Edward Bray was the victim in that. Started off in a good spot, right back on that good spot. Not sure, though, if he had to use his backup vehicle or not. Richie B moving up to 3rd position, moving up into that high line as the number 78, the number 22 staying up high as Gary Whitmer, Lee Ryerson, Richie B staying way up on that high side, almost looking like he's in trouble. Squeeze deal, and this may be another caution. Ladies and gentlemen, tough break. We were live on that camera action angle right there with Richie B. Tough break there for Richie B as Richie B goes up. But looky right here, folks. We have got that number 10 of Taylor Potts side by side with the 86 of Robert Chipman. Now watch this number 10 shoot through here, right here. Shoots through there so darn tight that just not even, I don't know, folks. Richie B was up and out of the way, but that 10 and that 86, I tell you what, folks. They're not going to fit. I mean, it is simple as that. Going up there to blimp mode, I want to see exactly how major this was. Back-to-back cautions here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in our Monday Night Mania. And it is a little mania tonight, a little bit maniacal, in fact. Mark Jackson one more time out there on that front row. But that number 12, she's a-smoking. Heading off into pit row. Mark Jackson staying out. I'll give us a chance to talk to Edward Bray. How about it, Edward Bray? You got a copy?
Not a copy, Scott.
Well, I'd say, we had a really good look at that caution right there. Driver taking it 3 wide on a driver that was in a little bit of trouble. I don't think he should have taken it 3 wide, but he squeezed it. But the driver that was slow, he was actually in the clear on that one. What's the track atmosphere? Do these guys not have brakes?
Evidently, nobody's listening to some of the communications going on the track. What I was hearing was that car that was in trouble calling out that he was going to stay up against a wall, and evidently nobody was listening.
Alrighty, darn shame. A lot of drivers taken out early. Now, we saw you involved into a little bit of a side swipe, no fault of your own early on. How are you doing? Did you have to use your backup?
Yeah, I had to pull out the backup, Scott. Hopefully I can keep it up here towards the front and keep this Black Talent Camaro clean and finish it and hopefully cross the start-finish line at the end.
All right, now you've got a partner out here working along with you, Lee Staples. I know that Lee Staples already early on involved in an incident, no fault of his own. Do you think Black Talon's going to be able to stay clean for the night?
Well, we already got one. I had to take it to the trailer, so it's all up to me tonight, Scott.
All right, so Lee Staples is indeed out of it for the night.
Pretty much.
All right, darn, that is a heartbreaker right there. All right, nonetheless, good luck to you, Edward Bray. Give him hell out there, brother.
Thanks, Scott.
One half of Black Talon out and down for the count. Gives us a chance to talk to Donald Stewart very briefly. How about it, Donald Stewart?
Hold on a second, Scott. Hey, how you doing? I had to mute the radio.
I'm doing just fine. Well, I tell you what, Donald, I may end up talking to every driver out here before this night's over if these drivers don't get it together. What's going on, brother?
Well, I just gave him a big speech. I told him, I was like, look, there's no Dale Jr.'s out here. There's no Jeff Gordon's out here. I said, you can't drive these cars wide open. You're gonna have to drive them reasonable, you know. If somebody's faster than you, I said, let them go. I promise you, in 10 laps, you're gonna catch them. You cannot try to keep up with people if they're overdriving.
Alrighty, and you are seeing a lot of drivers overdriving.
Oh yeah, they're driving. They're driving it way too hard this early. You know, they're just trying to keep up with everybody instead of letting them go and driving their own race. But I told them, I said, if you're going to drive it wide open every lap, we're going to be pacing every lap.
All right, well, sounds like you got some good experience underneath your wings there. Doing pretty good a couple of weeks ago. I forget what track that is, but I definitely, you know what you're doing out here.
Yeah, I'm going to let them go, you know. I'm not going to wear my tires out, at least if we have a chance to wear them out.
All righty, well, good luck to you, Donald Stewart.
Bye-bye.
Donald Stewart sitting in third place, very content to let the drivers go by. Well, after 2 cautions and 12 laps, might not be a bad idea. We are on lap 12 of 125. Might end up being a long night out here. 2 early cautions. Hopefully these drivers will get the fear of Charlotte within their range. And we're going to go green. Pace car is in. Mark Jackson out on that front line. Donald Stewart. Well, Donald said he was going to let him go by, but right now Donald Stewart running to the front like a jackrabbit running for his life. Edward Bray, same situation in third place. Lee Ryerson in the 125 in fourth. Kevin Scott Nelson in fifth. Kevin Scott Nelson usually riding along in the back of that pack, but not tonight. Straight line formation for our top 5. Gary Whitmer joining that party, sitting in position 6. Single file action, going into double file action. The deeper we move back into that pack, Ivan Garcia and Travis Browder. Double file, Travis Browder on that inside lane, leaving Ivan Garcia sitting still. Joel Guy, Robert Chipman in the outside lane. Robert Chipman seemingly to be way off of pace. Getting past, not by 1, not by 2, but falling down 3 more spots. Robert Chipman possibly dropping to the back. Number 40 of Garrett Potts. 5 laps down onto the tail end of the number 98 of David Washington. David Washington, 2 laps down. Richard Brose, 2 laps down in the very, very back of that field. Taking his time, but in it to win it. Mark Jackson out there on that front line. Donald Stewart, Edward Bray battling it up for second position. Edward Bray trying to get a rundown onto that inside, but Donald Stewart doing a good job of keeping that inside lane a little bit chopped off where Edward Bray can't quite get to him. Both of these drivers 1/2 second off of our race leader, Mark Jackson. We've made it through 2 more laps of green flag racing. Heady high. Drivers are possibly beginning to straighten out. Edward Bray, Donald Stewart, 1/2 a click away from Mark Jackson here on lap 18 of 125. Lee Ryerson, 1.5 seconds back, sitting in 4th position, showing his support for Pad in the blue Chevy Camaro. We did have our Pad race last night. It was a complete domination by Southeast Motorsports. Dustin Lee winning last night's race. We did have 6 cautions last night at Auto Club. Tough night for the boys at the monthly race for Pad. Kevin Scott Nelson in the Cheez-It Kellogg's Chevy Camaro. Kevin running laps about 27.5 seconds. Not very far off of that fast lap of 27.501. Riding along, very solid in position 5. Gary Whitmer, GW Graphics, our sponsor for the night. Loving the purple Pad colors, loving the designs, loving the support for Pad, Over the Top, GW Graphics, and KMA TV. But here comes Mr. Tebow, Travis Browder, in the number 18 NOS energy drink, passing around the number 5 of Gary Whitmer. Travis Browder, quite the little man, running a lap of a 27.387. Making his way towards the front, currently is in position 6. Taking it over from Gary Whitmer Jr. But Gary not quite going to give it up yet, knowing he has got 104 laps yet to get her done on this 1.5 mile speedway. Ivan Garcia in the number 72. Looks like a flag billowing in the wind. Working along with the lap traffic of the number 98 of David Washington. Ivan looking very sharp with a little bit of right side damage onto the side of the 72. Scraped the wall or another vehicle, but we can see the damage on that number 72 paint job. Joel Guy sitting in 8th place in the City Camaro. We'll be dealing with the lap traffic of the number 33 of Devin Armstrong. Only 11 drivers on the lead lap. 5 drivers laps down. 2 early cautions will do that to you every time, folks. Robert Chipman in the number 86 and the 111 of John Henderson. John Henderson looking very sharp out there in the United States military, showing his support for all 5 branches of the military. I always love it when the guys decide to paint up their vehicles in the military theme. John Henderson, thank you for your support to all branches. Looking very sharp out there. Driving a Mustang tonight. Personal preference, Mustangs, Camaros, they're pretty much all the same. Big difference between that 111 and the 224. 224, 111 flying by Ivan Garcia. Ivan Garcia in a little bit of trouble, banging up that number 72 just a little bit more. All right, Ivan Garcia, unfortunately, looking like he has gone through the ringer tonight. Heavy on the damage already. Tough break there for Ivan Garcia. Checking in with our race leader, Mark Jackson. Clear and green up in the front line. Donald Stewart, Edward Bray in second and third position. Not much has changed for the top four drivers. Lee Ryerson sitting in fourth position, trying to get a run out there on Edward Bray. Travis Browder, 3.8 seconds back. But he is getting some pressure from David Washington. Now, David Washington, 2 laps down, trying to get his laps back the hard way. David Washington, 2 laps down, passing 5th place of Travis Browder and leaving Travis Browder. Look at David Washington go, folks. Checking out some lap times with David Washington running a 28.291 compared to Travis Browder with a 28.506 and Gary Whitmer with a 28.369. So David Washington definitely the faster of that group. David Washington going to get his 2 laps back the hard way. Now, he is not the first driver in line for that lucky dog, so he has got to be extremely, extremely careful. Gary Whitmer, Travis Browder putting on a pretty nice show here on lap 30 of 125 in our Monday Night Mania. Gary Whitmer Jr., our sponsor for the night. GW Graphics. Near the rear of the field, we have got the number 40 of Garrett Potts. Now, Garrett Potts in here with his brother, Taylor. Unfortunately, Taylor appears to be out and down for the count for the night. Garrett Potts 5 laps down, but still in it to win it. Just because you do fall a few laps down, no need to get out there and quit. Garrett Potts making a run on the number 33 of Devin Armstrong. Devin Armstrong 2 laps down on lap 33. Garrett Potts down to that inside lane, going to hit that hammer and take a run against the Credit 1, number 33, but not tight enough to make her stick. Going to take an in-car camera with Garrett. And Garrett's going to show us how to get her done when you're 5 laps down out here at Charlotte. He sees that door halfway open on that number 33. Backs off a little bit too much. Once you get that run, you got to get that run, but you got to be careful not to slide up that track. Gary Whitmer up there in the distance along with Travis Browder. Look at that 5th and 6th racing against 16th and 13th. Devin looking like he might want it just a little bit more than Garrett. Devin all over the rear end of Travis Browder. Backing it off again, that door swinging open by Travis Browder. Devin getting a foot into that door, walking around Travis Browder. Travis Browder saying, "Hi, Devin, come on in, brother. You had the run." Devin now trying to get a run up there on Gary Whitmer. Garrett Potts taking a run. Travis has got damage. I see that damage up there now on the front end of the number 40. That is, or the number 18, and that is enough to slow you down and screw up your day. Unfortunate break there for young Travis Browder. Must have kissed the wall. Reminds me of a Jimi Hendrix song, something about kissing the sky, but Travis Browder kissing the wall, acquiring a large amount of right side damage. Garrett Potts doing all he can to get around the number 18 of Travis Browder. Garrett Potts with a run on the inside. Side by side just cannot complete the pass. But I tell you what, they are tighter than a hair in a biscuit on those front lines. One more time for Garrett Potts making a run. Side by side with Travis Browder. Just can't make it happen. Cannot quite make it happen. Checking out some racing up here in the front with Lee Ryerson and Edward Bray. Falling to 2.8 seconds back up of our race leader. Mark Jackson leading 39 laps out here at Charlotte. Hoping to see some green flag racing out here tonight. Lee Ryerson, Edward Bray, and David Washington. Now again, I have got to mention David Washington. Now I jested a few minutes ago about David Washington. Going to get those 2 laps back the hard way, folks. And I tell you what, he might do that. David Washington, position 12, 2 laps down. Well, just a little bit ago, he was back there battling it up against, I do believe it was Gary and Travis. Now he's up here battling it up against 4th position. I think if I were Edward Bray, I would just let David go. You know, he's 2 laps down. If he thinks he can get her done that way, let him go. I would not dare worry about whether or not he passed me and risk taking up what little rubber I may have left on that Chevy Camaro. And there goes the Ford Fusion of the number 98 of David Washington. Edward Bray letting David go. David 2 laps down. Edward Bray back on the inside. Not sure he's going for that pass or not, though. Back into his line, his formation. Trying to catch what little draft off of the number 98. He is available. Oh, Donald Stewart. Is that a green flag pit stop for Donald Stewart? Heading off into pit row on lap 43. Green flag pit stops here at Charlotte in our Monday Night Mania series. Donald Stewart into pit row. Nice pit stop, in and out. Taking rights. Taking lefts. Mark Jackson making a green flag pit stop as well. And away goes Mark Jackson and Donald Stewart. Down out of pit row. Staying below that white line as they should. Safe merge up. Ooh. Donald Stewart rocking it just a hair. Grabbing control. Lee Ryerson taking the lead here on lap 44 of 100. And David Washington again. He is going after his laps the hard way. He is right now onto the rear end of our race leader, the 125 of Lee Ryerson. Slower traffic in the number 72 up against that wall. David Washington going for broke. Ivan Garcia, David Washington, Lee Ryerson. David Washington, if he completes this pass, he will be 1 lap closer, and he is 1 lap closer as soon as they recalibrate at the start-finish line. Now, Donald Stewart, Mark Jackson being on some new tires, they're going to get out here, and they are going to rock and roll. The rest of the drivers needing to pit. Lee Ryerson needing to pit. Edward Bray needing to pit. Edward Bray in second position, coming around the number 72 of Ivan Garcia. Travis Browder sitting in third position. Joel Guy in fourth. Robert Chipman back into position 5. Beautiful night out here at Charlotte, especially for Lee Ryerson right now in that lead. But I tell you what, the man to beat out here, said it before, I'm going to say it again, David Washington, showing him how to do it out here, whether he's lapped down or not. Kevin Scott Nelson. Gary Whitmer Jr. We are showing a lot of drivers laps down due to pit row activity. But they will be getting those laps back immediately as drivers do head off into pit row. Travis Browder, Lee Ryerson making their way into pit row on lap 49. Travis Browder taking rights. Travis Browder taking lefts. Lee Ryerson making his way out along with 3 other drivers. That'll put Joel Guy up on that leaderboard. Joel Guy in the city number 91. Should be having to pit any time. Donald Stewart up to second position. Edward Bray making his way out of pit row. Green flag racing here on lap 51 of 125. Three drivers on that lead lap as we cycle through our pit stops. Joel Guy, Donald Stewart, and Mark Jackson. Travis Browder, position 4, 1 lap down. Three lead changes, 2 cautions, totaling 8 laps. 2 early cautions, but I tell you what, once these drivers have got her going, they got her going good. Gary Whitmer, Edward Bray, Kevin Scott Nelson, 6th, 7th, and 8th position. Taking a look at our running order. Joel Guy out there in front. Donald Stewart, 19 seconds back. Mark Jackson, 19 back. Travis Browder, 31 back. Lee Ryerson, 34. And we see, as these stats are updating, more and more drivers are getting their laps back as the pit row cycle continues on. 86, a little bit slower up in that outside lane. 86 being driven by Robert Chipman and Gary Whitmer. Coming around the 125 side by side, Edward Bray. Will he follow? Will Gary complete it? Will Ed take that 3 wide position? Gary Whitmer in the GW Graphics Camaro. And there goes Edward Bray. Edward Bray coming around the 125 of Lee Ryerson. Donald Stewart, our current race leader, as Joel Guy makes his way out of pit row. That was a hard one for Joel to surrender. I tell you what, leading 5 laps. Donald Stewart leading 1. Mark Jackson hot on his heels, leading 42 laps out here tonight. 69 laps to go here at Charlotte in our Monday Night Mania Series, brought to you by GW Graphics. First driver, 1 lap down, is the number 91 of Joel Guy. Throwback paint scheme there, being driven by Joel Guy. Looking very sharp. City Camaro, number 91. Kevin Scott Nelson and the Kellogg's Cheez-It 224. Looking like he's got a little bit of damage on that right side. Kevin Scott heading off into pit row. Kevin Scott driving the Kellogg's with right side damage. Well, I tell you what, folks, that's not great. We'll be getting it fixed, I'm quite sure. Right side damage like that, it'll definitely slow you down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Mark Jackson retaking that lead. Donald Stewart in second position. Travis Browder in third. Gary Whitmer Jr. up to fourth position. Gary Whitmer, very impressive as we watch Kevin Scott Nelson get that damage fixed. Kevin Scott out of pit row. Gary Whitmer Jr. and Edward Bray putting on a nice little show out here for us tonight for position 4th and 5th. Only positions 1 through 6 on that lead lap. And drivers completely spread out. Onto the nose of Donald Stewart. And that speck up there in the distance, that is Mark Jackson. Need to have a lot of control out here. Make sure you don't burn up your tires. Hopefully, Mark Jackson is taking very good care of his tires. Donald Stewart is only 1.3 seconds back. He is within a stone's throw of Mark Jackson. Might be a long stone's throw, but I think he could hit that car if he tried. Travis Browder sitting at 11.9 seconds back. Edward Bray, 14.9, and Gary Whitmer, 16. Lee Ryerson, 19.2 seconds back for position 6th, and that is your lead pack. All right, ladies and gentlemen, keeping an eye on Mark Jackson. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with you. And we are back, folks, looking at Travis Browder sitting in third position. Mark Jackson up there in fourth, completely dominating out here, leading 54 laps. We are on lap 70 of 125 laps, 55 to go. Been a really awesome night out here once they got started. 2 early cautions, taking us up through lap 21, I do believe. But we are running at about 40 to 50 laps of green flag racing. Now this pack is highly spread out, and we're going to walk through that pack. Mark Jackson way ahead of Travis Browder at 10.5 back. Donald Stewart 3.6 coming up on the lap traffic of Joel Guy. Travis Browder about 1/8 of the way back on this track, sitting in third. Edward Bray, stone's throw back from Travis Browder in fourth at 11.2 seconds back. Gary Whitmer Jr., 17.5 seconds back from our race leader. Lee Ryerson, hot on the tail end of Gary Whitmer Jr. Joel Guy, 1 lap down. Robert Chipman, 1 lap down on the opposite side of that track. David Washington still showing at 2 laps down. Ivan Garcia in the rearview mirror of David at 2 laps down. Devin Armstrong, number 33, position 11, 2 laps down as well. Number 12 of Kevin Scott Nelson still rolling. 111 of John Henderson and Garrett Potts. Garrett Potts showing 6 laps down. Tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, those 2 early cautions tonight, it did a little bit of damage out here, I tell you what. The green flag pit stops have split this track wide open. Time for the drivers to race the track rather than race one another. Very few drivers in close proximity to one another, which is going to allow these drivers to get out here and really test their knowledge of the track and see what they can make this race car do. You get out there on those super speedways, you got to work your way around every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Out here at Charlotte, take Edward Bray. Nobody's really in his way. He is trying to get to run the fastest lap that he possibly can. Right now running at 28.937, which is way off of his fast lap of 27.200. Drivers will not be good to go on fuel. They will have to make one more green flag pit stop if my feed information is correct. Edward Bray sitting in fourth position, trying to get up to the rear end of Travis Browder. Donald Stewart sitting in a very solid second position. Mark Jackson leading his 63rd lap. You heard it right, ladies and gentlemen. 63 laps being led by Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson pulling down lap times of 28.839, coming up onto the rear end of Joel Guy. Number 3 definitely knowing what he's out here doing tonight. Looking very sharp, in fact. Donald Stewart can see him up there, but he is slipping further and further away. Donald Stewart, 6 seconds back. 6 seconds back off of Mark Jackson. Edward Bray and Travis Browder sitting at 11 and 10 respectively. Number 111 of John Henderson, 6 laps down, on the way on to the rear end of the number 66 of Edward Bray. Not so sure John's going to be able to make this pass. John showing a little bit of damage up there on the right side of the Ford Fusion, or the Ford Mustang. Garrett Potts still 5 laps down. Ivan Garcia 2 laps down still, and the original car, I do believe. Significant right side damage. Kevin Scott Nelson 2 down. David Washington trying to get that Ford back on that lead lap, but showing 2 down. Robert Chipman 3 laps down, making his way, I do believe, out of pit row, up onto that track. Possibly his final pit stop of the night. Several of these drivers, I'm sure, wanting to see a caution come out. That would definitely make things a little bit more interesting out here tonight. We always want a caution-free race, but I tell you what, it does sometimes pull out a bit of a snoozer when these drivers do get spread out as they have. GW Graphics in the number 5 looking very, very sharp. Taking a run around the number 5. You just see the buildup of that rubber on the hood of that Camaro. Showing his Sport 4 pad. Over the top paints and designs, Whitmer Jr. GW Graphics. Position 5, 23 seconds back. Making his way into pit row. Green flag pit stops for Gary Whitmer Jr. Mark Jackson out there on that front line. Travis Browder in second, Edward Bray in third, Lee Ryerson in fourth. That'll put Joel Guy in fifth as Gary Whitmer goes in early. Gary Whitmer on his way out of pit row. Mark Jackson in and out of his pit stall up there on the front. That will be his last pit stop of the night. Lap 87 of 125. 37 to go. Mark Jackson in it to win it tonight. That will put Edward Bray out there on that front line. Edward Bray should be coming into pit row very, very soon, along with Travis Browder. I do believe that is the 111 of John Henderson onto the rear end of Edward Bray. Joel Guy making his way in and out. Edward Bray, Donald Stewart, Travis Browder Mark Jackson in third position. Second place of Donald Stewart, 22 seconds back off of Edward Bray. Edward Bray needs to get as far ahead out here on this lead as he can. But I tell you what, the man to beat definitely is Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson has just been absolutely doing it to it tonight out here at Charlotte. Mark Jackson's had a bit of a rough week. A little bit of a rough week last week. Drivers will go through spells. This might be the night for Mark Jackson in the over-the-top paints and designs Budweiser America Chevy Camaro. Couple of upcoming races, folks. This coming Friday, we have got the Happy Birthday Ivan Garcia 125 laps of Michigan. Specially picked out by Ivan Garcia, our soon-to-be birthday boy. Tonight, struggling a little bit out here, well below speed, going down into pit row. Thinking he's going to have to get a little bit of damage fixed. Looking a little rough. I'll tell you what. That will be this coming Saturday, Michigan 125. Happy birthday, Ivan. On December 23rd, we have got the most highly anticipated race of the year coming your way. The 4th annual Santa Dega. That will be 125 laps of Auto Club in the Chevy Silverados. Now, last night, I think we scared some fans because I had bragged about how well these drivers were going to do at Auto Club. Kind of shot my mouth off a little bit about that. In the past, we have held the Santa Dega at Talladega. But trying to get a little bit fewer cautions out there. So hopefully between now and the 23rd, drivers will learn to do a little bit better at Auto Club and respect Auto Club. Then coming up on January 6th, a special race brought to you by John Henderson. And it will be a huge lot of lapper, 188 laps. You heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. That will be a 3.5 hour race on January 6th. The If You Ain't Ordinance, You Ain't Shit, brought to you by John Henderson. It's a Navy thing. Gary Whitmer Jr. racing to stay, to get back on that lead lap. As long as he stays in front of Donald Stewart, he's on that lead lap. Interesting situation right here. Donald Stewart is that leader. If Donald Stewart gets around Gary Whitmer Jr., he will put Gary Whitmer Jr. one lap down. So right now, Gary Whitmer Jr. fighting for his lap to stay alive. Donald Stewart out there in front. Mark Jackson hot on the heels of Donald Stewart. Travis Browder 12.2 seconds back off of our race leader. Edward Bray 20.4. Mark Jackson trying to work his way around Donald Stewart, and that door was left open. And there goes Mark Jackson coming around the number 78 of Donald Stewart. My. Bye, says Donald. Or says Mark. Mark Jackson, Donald Stewart Positions 1 and 2. Donald Stewart driving the Ford GT. Haviline.com. With 25 laps to go, we're looking at about 12 and a half minutes. Now, this could be the situation where Donald's going to put enough pressure onto Mark Jackson, make Mark Jackson sweat, possibly make Mark Jackson burn up the rubber off of those tires, take him on the last lap. I've seen Donald do this before, but not to Mark Jackson. Or it could be a situation where Mark Jackson's up there just taking it easy, and Donald Stewart's trying like hell to catch him. It'll be a drag race between Mark Jackson and Donald Stewart over the next 23 laps. Lap traffic coming by Donald Stewart. Is lap traffic of the number 98 of David Washington. Unfortunately, still 2 laps down, but if he can get up to Mark Jackson, he'll get one of those laps back. I tell you what, David Washington has put on one hell of a darn show tonight. And there's absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Getting caught up early on in one of those 2 cautions. But all he's got to do is get around Mark Jackson, and he'll get one of those laps back. Lap 103 of 125, 22 to go. 8 lead changes out here tonight. Caution is out. That'll change everything. Looking at the number 78 and the 20. Ooh, heartbreaker there for Donald Stewart. All right, let's see what happened here with Donald Stewart. Up to the wall. Spins it. 224 into the rear end of the number 78. Tough break there for the 224. Let's take a look at it from his cockpit view. Seeing it develop up in front. Nowhere to go. Rear end collision with Kevin Scott Nelson and the number 78. And I tell you what, folks, that is an absolute heartbreaker. Therefore, not only Donald Stewart, but for Mark Jackson. Because I tell you what, I'm not so sure Mark Jackson wanted that caution to come out. I know that Gary Whitmer did. I know that Edward Bray did. Travis Browder most certainly did. Edward Bray. Boy, that's going to change everything. Mark Jackson, Edward Bray, positions 1 and 2. And I do believe we're going to have a pretty much of a restart, just like we had our start. Number 98, David Washington, in line. Want to get a talk in with David Washington. David, have you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, man, you are absolutely amazing. You got caught up early on, and we have been watching you and watching you. You almost passed Mark Jackson. That would have put you only 1 lap down, and you would have literally fought your way back a lap. Talk to me about how you're doing so well out here.
It took me a little bit there. I didn't realize jumping out of the gas into 1 that it would get loose like that. And it caught me off by surprise. And I had it saved, but I didn't realize there was somebody out there when I was trying to, drift it up to get it back going straight. But, yeah, I mean, the car took me, the first run there, pitted, got those new tires, and just figured out the line.
And it is all about the line. Now, with you getting the free pass here, is that going to put you back on that lead lap?
I am not sure.
All right, if it does, do you think you've got a chance of winning this with about 17 laps to go?
Yeah, no. No, it takes the car too long to come in for me. It doesn't have any get-up-and-go speed.
Well, not to mention you're going to have to forfeit your trip into pit row if you're wanting that free pass.
Yes, sir.
All right, we are showing you 1 lap down. So I tell you what, good luck. You're in 6 positions. Hell of a damn show tonight, David Washington.
Thanks.
Hell of a show for David Washington. Want to get one more driver interview in. How about it, GW Graphics? If you got a copy.
I got you, Scott.
All right, I always like to talk to our sponsors for the night. Well, look at you, sir. You are in 3rd place. How do you feel about that?
Just running laps, and then the next thing you know, I'm in the top 5. So maybe I'll do that from here on out, and I'll pay attention to where I'm at.
All right, it takes a lot of the pressure off. Real quick, tell us a little bit about the number 5 Camaro. You got GW Graphics on it. You got Pat on it, OTT on it. Very colorful car.
Yeah, just put up by over-the-top paints and designs by John Hendrick. This is a pad GW Graphics car.
And can you tell us a little bit about GW Graphics and what they do out there?
Yeah, GW Graphics does video productions for KMA TV, special events, commercials, sponsors, special occasions, anything goes.
All right, and a big shout out to Mom Whitmer. She's saying go GW.
Yep, shout out to Mom, Dad, and also my daughter Allison, who might be watching as well.
All righty, got the whole family rooting you on. I'm rooting on too. I love it when a sponsor wins the race. Good luck to you, Gary Whitmer.
All right, thanks, Scott.
Gary Whitmer Jr. doing a great job. Started 13th. Right now, landed himself into 3rd position. We are underneath our 3rd caution of the night. And I tell you what, folks, Mark Jackson, probably not a happy camper that caution come out. But that is the way it goes. Pace car is in, and away goes Mark Jackson. Edward Bray, Gary Whitmer hot on his tail. Travis Browder, Joel Guy, our top 5. Mark Jackson running for his life. We've only got a few laps to go, and I do predict we will go caution-free here on out. Can Mark Jackson hold on? We have got the front 4 definitely split away from the 5th position of Joel Guy, Travis Browder, Gary Whitmer racing it up hard for 3rd and 4th. Gary Whitmer on that inside. Travis Browder up to the bumper of Gary Whitmer. Edward Bray looking like he's going to catch up with our race leader, Mark Jackson. Edward Bray edging ever closer. Positions 1 and 2, positions 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 on your screen. Travis making the pass on the number 5. That'll put Gary Whitmer in 5th position. Joel Guy, or Gary Whitmer in 4th. Joel Guy in 5th. Joel Guy getting a nice run on the inside of Gary Whitmer. Mark Jackson, Edward Bray still up there in front. Joel Guy coming underneath the number 5. Very close, tighter than a hair in a biscuit. Successful pass for Joel Guy. Number 78, Donald Stewart making a run. Now, Donald Stewart is 3 laps down. Gary Whitmer, really, caution is out. Let's see what happened here. We have got a 3-wide situation. Ooh, there it is right there. The number 72 of Ivan Garcia drifting up into the number 111 and then hit by the number 40. You know, that looks like a good place to go in car. All right, Becky, close your eyes. I know you love these pictures here. John Henderson going for a ride, round and round and round. Well, actually not going around, just sliding on the top of the car. There he goes, back right side up. And I tell you, what a hit out there for the number 1. Tough break for John Henderson. That one hurt a little bit, I do believe. One more look at it from the chopper angle. Ivan Garcia coming up into the 111 of John Henderson. Garapat's really nowhere to go. And the 111, round and round and round he goes. Completely tore up. Tough break there for John Henderson. That'll put Edward Bray out there on that front line. Mark Jackson going into pit row. Mark Jackson wants every bit of those fresh tires he can get. Did not see that fourth caution coming out. Was really positive. We were going to go green flag racing, but unfortunately, the number 72 in a 3 wide position with the number 111. Number 72 bringing out our fourth caution of the night. But I tell you what, folks, it has been a really exciting night out here. Number 78 of Donald Stewart, 3 laps down. How about it, Donald Stewart? Have you got a copy?
Oh, damn, I want to talk to you, Scotty.
I wanted to grab you one more time, sir, because I tell you what, you have put on one hell of a damn race out here tonight. Unfortunately, you have fallen to 3 laps down. What is the atmosphere out there on the field right now?
Man, it's been a lot better since we had all those green runs. But yeah, I just messed up and overdrove that corner on the exit, touched the wall and lost it.
Well, sir, I did want to make sure that you knew that I personally think you have put on a great race, and you deserved a second interview. You're probably not going to get up there in the top 3 again, but you ran up there most of the night. I want to congratulate you as the biggest go-getter of the night.
Well, thank you. I had nothing for Mark. This is Mark's race to lose tonight.
All righty, I tell you what, even though you did a great job. All right, thanks for your time, Don.
All right, thanks, Scotty.
Tough break out there for Donald Stewart. All right, we're going to take a look at our running order, hopefully for the last time tonight. Edward Bray, Travis Browder, Mark Jackson, Joel Guy, Gary Whitmer Jr., our top 5. Now, I will say this, folks. The 4 cautions we've had, they've came pretty much in sets of 2s. We had that first caution. A couple laps later, we had that second caution. A lot of green flag runs, green flag pit stops, and then we have a caution. And then we have another caution. And I do believe that'll put David Washington in 6th position. 10 laps to go by the time we go back to green flag racing. This could be a deal breaker for David Washington. Drivers are lining up double file. I called David Washington right from the start, folks. I may call David Washington one more time. That'll put David Washington in 5th position. Edward Bray scrubbing those tires, getting ready to get her done out here at Charlotte, lap 115 of 125. Joining me in the booth for the final 10 laps is Garrett Potts. How are we doing, Garrett?
I'm doing good. How about you, bud?
Doing fun. I'm doing good. I'm having a lot of fun up here. But I tell you what, I know a lot of drivers were probably quite frankly pissed off to see those last 2 cautions come out. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, you could definitely hear it over the race chat. They weren't ready for it. I think that Edward Bray might be the one who's going to do better, fare a little bit better on this one.
Well, I tell you what, we've got Edward Bray, Mark Jackson, Travis Browder out there on that front line. Gary Whitmer in 4th position. Joel Guy, we are 3 wide, 4 5th with Ryerson, Washington, and Joel Guy. Now, David Washington fell 2 laps down. But I tell you what, he's right back here racing for the win.
Yeah, it takes if you get lapped earlier in the race, if you work hard, you can get back up there to the front. Sadly, we couldn't get it back up there tonight in the number 40 machine, but he's doing a really great job. He's been coaching everybody, teaching them how to save the tires around the corner, and a lot of guys have been saving all night.
Lap 117 of 125, 8 to go. Mark Jackson, Edward Bray is where we're going to keep those cameras locked on. But Travis Browder, 0.3 seconds back. Travis Browder not out of this. Who is your pick for tonight's win, Garrett?
I like Ed, but Travis seems to be laying back. With these 2 getting side by side here, it's really going to slow them up. And you'll see Travis is going to get a run here. So, of these top 3, I really don't know.
Well, that was a
Travis is good.
That was a good move there by Travis and Mark Jackson, tighter than a hair in a biscuit. Travis Browder, Mark Jackson making a run for it.
Yeah, Travis, he got a good run off of that corner there. It's really helping him. But Mark's fighting back on that outside.
Mark has been fighting all night. I tell you what, Mark Jackson leading 86 laps tonight. Now, there is the possibility, and we have seen it happen 100 times out here, what if Mark and Travis wreck, and Ed could take that win?
It's happened all the time. Ed's got a clean car. It looks really good. So, you know, if you're Ed, if you want Mark to win, you really got to race that 18 hard so he wears his stuff out. But then you also got to think you want to save, because you can save and move to the front. So it looks like he's backed off just a little bit. Probably going to save him to those last 5 laps, probably.
Well, I think what I've seen happen here is I think the racing between Travis and Ed being so tight, they both realized that it was slowing them both down.
Oh yeah, Mark, he pulled away about half a second there while they were trying to battle. So it's a double-edged sword. You want to get the position, but then again, you know that you're going to hamper yourself from getting the first position. So at this point, I see Mark, he's pulled away a little bit. If I was Ed, I'd try to run down that 18th car, try to get a second place out of this.
Well, we appreciate you and your brother Taylor being out here tonight, but unfortunately you got caught up in a couple of those early cautions. And I was telling our race fans what was really interesting here, Garrett, when we had that first caution, wham bam, that second caution came right out within 2 or 3 laps. Then we went green flag racing for what, better part of 70, 80 laps. We had some green flag pit stops. Then we had caution number 3, and 2 laps later, caution number 4. They say that cautions breed cautions. What do you think?
Oh yeah, those double file restarts, it puts everybody back in contention, and they know that's when you need to make your track position up. If you can make a couple spots there, not use your stuff up, hold it, and then save, you can really make that long run really worth it. So, yeah, and cautions do breed cautions, especially at the end of the race. Everybody gets a little antsy, and here we go.
Now, how do you think tomorrow's race is going to be? We are running the Chevy Silverados out here at Charlotte. Do you think that's going to be a little bit of a better race? Because tonight's race, even with 4 cautions, it's been pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, I think that with the Chevy Silverados, as anywhere, the #1 factor with them is tires. These cars are pretty good on tires, and you could save a little bit more with these. Those trucks, they're kind of like a brick. They push real hard, and they make it so that they wear out. So it's going to be more of a driver's race right there.
All righty. We have got Mark Jackson, Travis Browder, Edward Bray. That's going to wrap it up. It's simple as that. What a race out here tonight, Garrett.
Oh, yeah. It was a good job by everybody out there. Everybody knew what they were doing. They didn't overdrive the car. There's a lot of good driving after we got that green flag run out there. So I was really impressed with everybody tonight.
And that will put Mark Jackson out there on that front line. Got to give a big shout out there to Mark Jackson. What a night out here. We're going to get in some driver interviews. I'm going to go on and drag Edward down, and I'm going to let you start him off with a driver interview. Here you go.
How's it going, Ed? Good job on that 3rd place, bud.
Hey, thanks, man.
So, tires, big factor tonight. Coming to that final restart, did you have them? Did you have enough to hang with them?
I think I would have. I had to let off a little bit when Mark just about cut off my nose. So I wanted to make sure that the 2 of us didn't wreck. So I let off a little bit, lost a little bit of momentum. But other than that, I mean, I'm happy with the 3rd place win and pulling it out for Blacktown tonight. My teammate having to take it to the garage early, but it was a great race.
Well, you fought well all night. You stayed in contention all night. Good job on the saving the tires and the pit strategy. It all paid off.
Appreciate it, man.
All righty. How about it, Travis Browder? You got a copy?
Hey, Scott. What a race I had, man. Up and down race I had. Oh.
Well, tell me and Garrett all about it. Then Garrett's got a couple of questions for you.
Well, earlier in the race, I had to serve a penalty for passing on the inside. I served it, and I got the free pass. I drove through the grass, I missed a couple wrecks. I accidentally used my reset and got into a driver and got into a wall earlier. And then the damage wasn't that bad. It really didn't hurt the car, but it did a little bit. but you know, we'll take second place. It was a lot of fun there at the front. Stayed in it. We never gave up. We got second place.
You were in the back for most of the night, and then you got to the front. We had some good racing back there at the end. Were you saving tires and planning it out, or were you just trying to get the track position?
Well, so track position is everything here, and tire management. I say both, you know, but you know, I was just trying to hang on to the car with this right front damage, and yeah, it was good racing with you earlier too, Garrett. And it was a lot of fun out here. Congratulations to Mark Jackson on the win.
Yes, sir. Well, it all paid off for tonight, bud. Good job on second place.
Thanks, Garrett. Thanks, Scott.
How about it, Mark Jackson? You got a copy. This is Scott and Garrett in the booth.
Hi, Scott. Hey, Garrett.
How's it going, bud?
What?
Man, oh, man. What a Christmas present for me. We got us a win. It's been such a long time.
Well, while we're talking to you, give us some donuts out there. I want to see some smoke. But I tell you what, talk to us about when that third caution come out. I knew you were not happy with that third caution.
Oh, man. I was, you know, me and Donald was running along there, and Donald kind of gave the dog up there. He said he was going to be a lap short, and I knew I'd pitted a lap behind him, and I really didn't plan on the fuel mileage thing, but kind of the way I was driving the car, I was saving just a little bit each lap, kind of trying to keep the tires underneath the car, and then the caution came out, and I just thought, oh, no, here we go again. And fortunately, it worked out for us tonight. We were able to pull it off. Had a little contact with Edward there. I don't know, my spotter didn't quite have his good binoculars on or something. We had a little bit of contact, but we pulled through that thing and brought it home to the win, man. I'm just super stoked.
And did you have Mama Patty and Kristen out there watching you?
Well, we had Kristen down here in the up there on the pit box. Mom, she's up there looking at the Christmas tree and stuff and having some dinner. So Mama Patty's always with us in spirit, and we had my pit crew, Kristen. She brought me this awesome chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and gravy right before the race, and so we were full. Gas tank was full, and we was ready to go racing. Man, it was just super stoked, super happy to be here in KMA and get a win. Man, it's been such a long time.
Mark Jackson taking the chicken to Charlotte and bringing her home. All right, Mark, give us a burnout, and we're going to let you go. Congratulations, winning at Charlotte.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Got to thank my sponsor, Over the Top Paints and Designs. Got to thank KMA, my buddies over there at Southeast Motorsports, and Pad Motorsports as well. We always keep him in our thoughts and prayers, and if we don't see anybody else for the rest of this month, man, just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, happy Merry Christmas, and happy holidays to everyone.
All righty, good stuff. Hell of a win, Mark Jackson, bringing her home at Charlotte. All right, Garrett. Well, I tell you what, 4 cautions or not, that was a whole lot of fun. Give us some final thoughts, Garrett.
Oh, yeah, it was a fun night. You had to really drive the car and conserve it at the same time, which is a really double-edged sword. And everyone, especially our top 3, they did a great job of doing that. All night, they were spot on, no penalties, did great. It's hard to do. We've got a lot of good racing coming up this week at this track, and it really does brew for just great all-out racing. So I'm excited for the week coming up. Tonight was awesome. Everybody did a perfect job. We had a really great green flag run there where we got some green flag pit stops in, and it really separated the people who were driving the car too hard and not. So I think that's how we got our top 3 up here.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be running the trucks tomorrow, coming back here to Charlotte for our Tuesday night truck series, and on Friday we're going to be back here with our Friday night trucks, Friday night Cup Car series, brought to you by Pie 5 Pizza. I appreciate you hanging out with me the last few laps here, Garrett.
Oh, as always, bud. Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Scott Kolovic. This is KMA TV, and we are out of here.